No, we have enough people in person to constitute a quorum, so I think we're good. I'll start with attendance. I knew Brian, I believe indicated he wasn't gonna be here. John?
Yeah, here.
I'm here. See, Tom is on for Zoom. Mark also said he would not be here. Sal?
Yep.
Mike Reese?
Yep.
Mike Sampson?
Here.
Sadie? Karen?
Yes, here.
All right, here we are. First thing we'll do is approve the minutes from July 30 and August 24. Mike resent all those out. Hopefully everybody had a chance to take a look at them. Do we have any, starting with July 30, do we have any comments, omissions, changes? Yes, Mike?
You want to make a motion for?
To accept them?
Yeah.
Well, we're discussing, right? Or,
Well, okay, either way, I have a couple of questions.
okay,
You want to do those now?
yeah,
Two things on the. Whatever it's, I think it's around the. Fourth paragraph, it says, recent years has been an annual revenue shortfall in the amount of 40 to 50,000. It seems strange to me, so I did go back and look at it over the last, actually the last, since 2011. And I'll pass this around. I don't know if I got enough, probably don't. But you just get them hang with it. Oh, I got, never mind. And this shows, there were a couple things. First of all, I wanted it clear that the rates had gone up since 2011. So it also said down on the top, bottom, somewhere down towards the bottom.
This is for water and
That's
sewer.
water and sewer. But the paragraph says, it's been, recent years has been a revenue shortfall from water and sewer in the amount of 40 to 50,000. I don't think that's accurate. So I ask you to take a look at it.
I have a question. I can't seem to find the minutes, but is that Roger quoting what someone said? Because regardless if it's accurate or not.
What did what Chad say?
Yeah, so that is an accurate recording of the meeting, so whether or not we agree with that,
Fine.
it's what was said.
In which case, I'd like to make a statement in this meeting's minutes indicating that I don't believe that that is an accurate statement, that it's been $40,000 to $50,000 each year in the hole. It's number one. And number two, that over the last, since 2011, the rates did increase 26%, 15%, and 34% over that same time frame. So I'd like that to be in the minutes.
but no proposed change. Mike,
Pardon?
no proposed change,
No proposed change.
corrections, anybody else? And I'll make a motion that we accept the July 30 minutes as written.
Sorry.
Second, all right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain. I wasn't here.
Okay. Then the August 24th minutes, which weren't much, I don't think, right? We had a very quick meeting. Too quick to even write it down. Any comments, changes, corrections? All right, I'll make a motion that we accept the August 24 meetings as written. Look and Sal, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. First thing on the agenda is Carrie Ann reached out to Mike and I last week, and she had put together. You'll recall last year, there was discussion about a new system going into place that would be online this year. And there is the ability for the selector, for anybody, budget committee to log in and see the budget changes in real time. And Carrie Ann put together a software instruction manual that we've all gotten. I went through it step by step and tested it out and it was very easy to follow and was able to look at a budget. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. And Carrie Ann, did you want to make a few comments on that or any history or anything that we all should know other than you can go on and look at it.
Yeah, I did print screens, but when Mike just tried to log in, it gave him like all the 6 different modules we have. So if you end up getting that screen, just click budgeting.
Budgeting.
Or when I was testing the budget profile, I wasn't seeing that, but it totally showed up on his computer. So if you get that screen that's not in the directions, just choose budget.
Excellent.
When I did it, it worked fine.
Okay.
I had no problem.
I don't know why you got
Yeah,
the weird
Nate got
screen.
in fine, too.
Yeah.
I have a Ukrainian IT guy,
And so for, and you'll see, Carrie Ann, you passed out these binders. Do you want to, make a comment on this, what it is and what the plan is, for future
It's
meetings?
Similar to last year, I just gave you all the information we could think to give you the policies or what the select board just approved recently. The second section is summaries, and that's just summarizing the budget in different ways. So it's the department summary, so you can just look down and see all the department totals. And then the last one where it says proposed budget organized by segment 4. That one's just gonna rearrange the account numbers by the 4th segment. So all of our accounts ending in 110 are full-time salaries. So instead of seeing it by department, you'll see it by full-time salaries, all the accounts, then part-time salaries, all the accounts, so on and so forth. Our chart of accounts isn't completely cleaned up yet, so when you start getting into like the 700s and 800s, you'll see that 4th segment isn't always like totally accurate, but we have all the major ones cleaned up, so we can run summary reports. And then the 3rd section, that's the budget, like we're used to seeing it with all the historical years actual. The 4th section, I gave you the default budget because with all the passage of the warrant articles, it seriously changed our default budget for this year. And then the 5th section is just the staff listing current as of yesterday and our organizational chart. So you can see who all is budgeted for. And it's just informational purposes to help understand what's all in the budget.
And so working forward, we start with what is in the budget here, and then to the extent changes are made, people can go on within probably a couple of days of the meeting and see the updates. Is your plan to like, bring the printouts each meeting with the incorporated updates to the extent people want them?
My plan was to email everyone the updated report and then I'll bring extras if anyone wants paper.
Okay,
But you can log in anytime you want. The budget module is tied to the general ledger. So every week as I'm posting, the budget reports will repopulate the actuals. So you'll always see 2024 actuals changing like week after week as we go through.
oh, okay.
So that was the benefit of getting the budget module up and running, because last year I spent a lot of time updating our actuals.
So it's linked to what you're doing elsewhere?
Yeah.
Yes. gotcha.
Everything's linked. Accounts payable, payroll, all that stuff.
Great.
From your perspective, it was a good investment to upgrade the software that you did.
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure we spent our money wisely.
The last system would not export into Excel and that was just crippling for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not like Excel's a new thing.
It's been around for a while.
Well, that's great. Does anybody have any questions for Carrie Ann and this nice organization that she's put together for us?
So thank you.
Yeah, it's wonderful. All right, well, as you saw on our proposed meetings. Tonight, we're gonna hear from the town administrator and select board on these various numbers. And so I guess, moving forward, I let Chet and Sadie kind of walk through, what the numbers are, and, I think it's helpful for us to point out things that have increased or decreased or why, and then we'll go like that, if that works for you.
This is revenue.
I guess starting right from the top, the executive.
The only thing that's changed on the town administrator side is when I started, we basically had a position, from what I understand historically, that had been eliminated a full-time administrative assistant to the town administrator. And we are currently using the human services person as a half-time person as the town administrator, so we've split that into two. And we're basically at the same place that we were this year, there's really no changes proposed. For any of that. And on the elected officials. The. Thing was for that one.
The new payroll system doesn't break out all the different ones, so you'll notice the payroll system will only do a 110 account, a 120 account, and a 130 once, so we couldn't break out the town moderator, and then the historian, so they all got lumped into the executive selectman salary, that's now including the moderator, historian, and selectman. And then it's
Where
zeroed
is-
out.
where are they
You
coming
can tell us what the breakout is in the 11,954.
That would be in the personnel budget, and I can do like I did last year and send that out.
If we could- I'm having a little trouble.
Okay.
Page 1 of 23, 1 of 20.
Third,
25.
third line down, or EX.
I'm on the wrong. Oh, okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm so obtuse. man.
The 2024 actual column, that's year to date, right? That's what that means.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I assume so, but thank you.
So, the other items, whether it's life insurance or retirement and health insurance, they're all just, the calculated changes. There's no change in the number of personnel or any of the issues. This is all just, COLA related and the actual new calculations. The administrator has an increase just due to that many additional meetings, that have been going on. So, basically, we're just trying to work based on the actual, so it matches. And printing dues and subscriptions and miscellaneous are basically flat, not really any changes there.
Did we have a total for groups last year? Summary for the department?
There. I think there's a separate sheet that you have
I
instead.
can't put it on this sheet.
There's totals, if you go all the way, like go. At the end of each department, there's a total,
So how about EX?
that's on page,
EXTA and all of those are, if you go to page 2, that total is there.
All the 4130s are grouped together.
yeah, so if you go all the way to the bottom of the 4130s, it says general government executives, and then all the totals are running in bold.
And compared to 2024 budget, it's an $11,000 increase from 215 to 226.
Well,
How come there's a big difference between the department request and
The department requested another full-time position. And we were thinking of splitting it between the town administrator and the tax collector. Like having a full-timer that would be a deputy tax collector. And also assist in the office, but that's the no vote.
That's basically, Anne is going to be having Vicky is leaving by the end of this year. So she's trying to figure out how she's gonna fill that assistance role, and that was one of the options we were looking at potentially.
And we were thinking we could run any full-time positions as a warrant article and not put it in the operating budget. Like any additional full-time positions.
Yeah, but that increases the budget if it passes.
We're gonna need Vicky, and we know we need someone. There'll be two people to replace.
Well, and the issue we're running into, and just in the hiring process is, finding people that are willing to take a part-time position and don't have, it's getting much more difficult. And just, and we were looking at, okay, what are the needs we have? And do we have an additional need besides that half-time person? Could we look at that? So, but at this point, we're not pursuing that option, because the other thing about the town clerk assistant is they have to be a resident. And it's not like we can go out and advertise, because ultimately we want them to be able to be elected. If they were gonna train in that position and learn that, so. It's just a level of difficulty we're trying to overcome.
And we're not, doing, are we doing election tonight? Let's see. Looks like town clerk tax collector.
Well, elections are under the same category.
Next week.
Yeah, next time, right? Yeah. So down to 4150 financial administration. Goes all the way down, looks like to page 4 of 25 at the very top. Where your totals are.
Yeah, the financial administration is another one that was affected by the payroll system consolidating all the accounts ending in 130. So how we're used to seeing the treasurer and assistant treasurer and the trustees of the trust fund broken out. Now that all got combined into the 4150-10-130. And I made notes whenever a salary line got combined. But there was a one-time expense for a new payroll system, so that was removed, and then in the service contracts is where the new payroll system was budgeted. And then the big changes would be in the software and hardware support. We changed IT service providers. And it's more expensive than the previous one, so that's added in there, and we put in the website yearly fee just in case it does get implemented in time for 2025. We didn't want to add it later, so that would be included in there. And the normal fees come out of that line, the Adobe Pro, our newsletter fee, Zoom, the accounting software. Is what's all included in that line.
Which line is that?
The software hardware support,
It's right at the bottom, right?
4150-6330.
The bottom of page 3.
I got it.
So both the software upgrades. And they went down quite a bit this year.
We're not planning any more upgrades.
That's gonna do it every.
What?
Good. Any questions on financial administration? Anybody? Go down to assessing, 4152.
The big thing with this one was the reassessment got bumped up a year. We got a letter from the Department of Revenue that we were underassessed by about $100 million.
Yeah, it's 27% basically is what they're saying.
So we got the quote from the assessor to do the reassessment in 2025. It came in at $75,000. We only have $20,000 saved in the capital reserve. So we added the other $355,000 into the contract appraiser line. And then he gave us his normal yearly fee came to 34,100. So those are the two things making up that big 89,000 number.
Any chance we could get a copy of that letter from DRA?
Yeah, and the other thing, we're also going back to them and trying to see if there's a way we can delay that. But yeah, we are gonna see how hard they're gonna push to make us have to do it.
A 25% increase in 1 year is,
Oh, it's huge. Well, the positive is, when it comes to the town portion, it doesn't raise your tax in dollars at all, just changes the rate. The problem is the school stuff that are done on the assessed values, that's where you get into the significant increase.
well, it also depends.
Right.
If you, even at the town level, if you raise the tax base 100%, then the rate ought to go down proportionally.
It should go down equally.
But usually most municipalities.
Well,
it
they
doesn't
don't
work
let that
like
do
that.
it. I don't like to operate that way.
Yeah,
We don't
okay.
look for it and say,
All right,
okay, we have
I'm
some
just
room.
saying it's-
Oh, no, I understand, and that does happen.
So, I forget who you said they were, but how did they determine that we're $100 million under assessed?
Basically, you have an assessed value, you have your total
Right.
list of values. What happens is the number of sales that happen in the year get reported. And the percentage that they're over the assessed value for that purchase, if you have a house that's assessed at 300,000 and you sell it at 450. That's a 50% increase, and when that continues to happen, the averaging over 3 years, I believe it is. They look at that and go, okay, your assessments are now way off.
But we reassess every 3 years anyway, correct?
But
Every 5 years.
it's gonna be 1 year early the way this is written.
But it's 450 million roughly, or 480, somewhere in that range for the total base. So it goes up 100 million, that's
It's a lot.
big.
So that's what we're, we have the proposal now, we gotta go back to the DRA and say that.
I'm sure we're not the only town in the position,
Right.
of course, but.
I saw Enfield's doing the same thing.
Yeah, I think you can go online and get a list of towns and what percentage of market value, or what do they call it, equalization?
Equalization rate,
And what they're at.
actually, you do find that you go onto the DRA's website.
Yes.
You can find it.
So it's great if you're selling.
We're
If
70,
you're not selling, it's not.
our actual number is 73.4. 100% means you're assessed correctly.
Yeah,
You
make a
have to be-
table, don't they?
You used to have to be within 10%, so you had to be at 90.
Right. Yeah, anything 90, either 90 to 110.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we're outside that loop. So that's one we hope to delay.
Because of the cost of it.
Well, it's the cost, it's the effect on the whole process, and we were only 1 year off, and it would, like if we could put 20 or 30,000 towards it this year, and have the same thing next year, we don't really get hit.
Well, the other problem is classes of property change disproportionately.
Yeah.
So the last time we did this extravaganza. We had a lot of people living in mobile homes and almost got priced out of existence. Because it went up 300% on a mobile home. So if you're living in a mobile home, because you have no money and that's the best you can live in, it goes up 300%. We do that every 4 years, that's. You can buy bus tickets for people to leave.
Well, and plus, housing is gonna come down at this point. You wait another year, right, between interest rates and the cooling off, the property value is gonna come, people aren't gonna be selling at 50% over market value. In another year, so it's gonna come back. Seems like
Well, and-
premature.
Well, ironically, if it comes back and it drops, you'll be disproportionate again, you'll have to do it again.
Right, this is my
Well,
point.
and-
It's like historically though, the upper bound is really insulated from that when it drops. We don't see it as much as. some other areas.
But that's part of the, okay, we think, what about the big shift that'll happen then next year is interest rate, everything's gonna drop and cash is gonna go down, and
Right.
we'll see what it does, and but we can make the argument, but I don't know if we'll be successful.
Is that a mandate or a recommendation?
Mandate this time.
The libertarian in me is coming
It
out.
used to be you could get a waiver of 1 year. And when I don't remember what the rules were,
Yeah,
we
I-
never asked for it. But there used to be a waiver provision for a year.
Yeah, and that's what we wanna ask for.
All right, any other question on assessing? All right, legal expenses?
Legal is up this year for a couple of reasons, and we're just trying to predict where we're gonna be. We've had the special town meeting, a bunch of legal pieces with that. We've had some historical real estate issues that we've had to revisit. We're not sure how, if there's any more that we're gonna have to look at, to look at some of the processes that we're gonna have to adjust. So we have that raised this year for a placeholder right now. To make sure we don't under budget for that.
And the NHMA dues for 2024, we had budgeted for it in executive. So now that I know it was in the legal line, I bumped it back down to legal and took it out of the executive department. That's why that got added back in there.
Which one is that?
415310 NHMA dues.
60. Oh, the dues, sorry.
So it's
Yeah,
just,
was it last year going? I don't know where it was in the past, but usually NHMA is a variety of services, it's just legal services.
Oh, in 22 and 23, this is where it was.
Okay,
We're just going back to where it was.
So I got confused in
it's the New England
2024.
standard, we've always done it that way.
It's gotta be somewhere, so.
personnel administration?
Hang on,
Oh,
before,
sorry.
on the prosecutor, has the allocation already been set for that, or is this just a placeholder until you know?
It's been set. We have the numbers confirmed.
Okay.
Any other questions on legal? All right. Personnel administration?
On the health insurance, and
It's all been-
it's been relocated from, when you look at the personnel administration line, it's all been relocated to the individual departments.
Mhm.
So it's not allocated here. The one thing I do want to point out is there was another 10% increase they're talking about right now, which is what we have in the budget as it stands. We are currently looking at alternative coverages to see where we can save some money. One of the things that I've done in the past is moving to a high deductible plan with an HRA. Where you can get basically the same benefit for a significant reduction in cost. Our first look at it, we have, depending on how we do it, if there's a little bit of employee contribution, if there's. How we do this, we could look at a $50,000 to $75,000 savings potential.
Mhm.
So we were trying to refine that and know where we are and see if we can get this reduced a little.
Is there anything in this manual yet that says what the total is for total medical insurance?
Yeah, if you look at the second section, there's a same budget run a different way.
Is that in the summary?
Yeah, in the summaries, and that's where everything's totaled by the fourth segment. So it's called budget summary segment 4 detail.
Okay, I'm there. You give me hints there.
Health insurance is 30.
What was the last number? Four, what did you say the number was, 430?
I think it's on
Health
page
insurance
4.
admin 210.
Oh, 230. Oh, 210?
Am I right? Yes. So page 3,
Yep, got it.
that summary.
Which area we can follow that for you.
And same thing, if you go to the end of the 210,
Page
There's-
4, looks like it's 103. All right. No, it's, where's the total?
you would go
Okay,
all the
I
way,
can't, yeah. Wait, go ahead.
all the way over to the right would be the 519,229,
Where is
and
it?
then it's showing you the total of the 2022 actual, 2023 actual, 2024 budget,
And that,
page 4.
Oh, 519. 550.
Marion, can I borrow one of those books? They're fantastic note takers and we've only had one book.
Marion, that's the 572 some photo, is that what? Am I looking at the right column?
Employee benefits, group insurance, health, isn't that what we're looking at?
2025
That's
department.
the group of all the insurance, right? I mean,
Yeah.
every department.
That's what it was, 515,000. So,
572.
Does that include water and sewer too, or is that separate?
They'll be separate because they're different funds.
Yeah, okay.
So we were just totaling by the general fund.
I guess my question is, I think it was 515 budgeted in 2020, in 2024. And then it looks like you guys have 519, the town administrator and board of selectmen, but I don't understand why which would be no increase, but Chet just said 10%, which would be the 572.
We had 3 new hires waive insurance and take the buyout. Where 2024, we only had 1 person take the buyout. 2025, we had 4 people take the buyout. So that
What's a buyout?
you get paid $5,000 for waiving insurance.
And call your spouses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So 572 has the estimated 10% increase in it?
July 1st through the end of the year, yes.
I
So
mean, you put that estimate in, but you
calculated.
don't know what it is yet.
we do not know yet.
Okay.
That usually comes out October-ish.
And my recollection as to why we keep the personnel administration. Well, at least the insurance lines is just historical, because I would imagine in another couple of years. This whole section is gonna be just zeros, so there's probably no reason to keep it in anymore, right?
Yeah, and that was the work we did getting our chart of accounts corrected, so we can use the summary line to get the same methodology and still see exactly what we're spending on health insurance. By running a different report.
What you just said, does that mean that we're not gonna be able to see a line like the 572 a couple of years from now?
Oh, I'm back on the budget worksheet. I would imagine in a few years, we wouldn't be looking at 210, 220, 225 anymore, because
Okay.
they're not gonna be there.
Individual
Yep.
departments and on the other report.
Any other questions on personnel administration? Skipping down to general government buildings.
So this one, we've been starting to create accounts within the 4194 department. So we can start seeing what we're spending on the meeting house, the museum, senior center. So we have a bunch of new accounts, instead of just having one account for repair and maintenance. We created accounts for all the different building repair and maintenance. But same thing there, the 4th segment is consistent, so we can run the summary report to total everything.
Is somebody gonna give us a presentation on the 40,000 for the senior center?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, tonight, we have a proposal for the roof repair. It's 45,000 to finish the rest of the roof that we started this year. About for the 40 that we did.
So let me understand. Are we gonna revisit this at any point?
Yes.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah, the reason is we have the museum, we're still waiting for the exploratory to be done.
Okay,
And we have a couple of things, we just met, the CIP just started talking about this the other day. And yeah, there's some significant repairs that are required, and there will have to be a full-blown plan to show you. But yes, that will be coming.
So I imagine one of the later meetings, we'll have to put that on the agenda, or will it be with the CIP or?
Well, once the CIP, once we have finalized the plan in CIP, we can then say, okay, here's what we reviewed and this is what we found
Okay,
that we're looking at.
Yeah, when is The final report supposed to be generated, remember the date?
It's the second or third. It was the end of October. I know we were talking about, that we had the first and third, second and fourth Thursday for Wednesdays in October. And we switched next week's to the third, so we have 3 meetings still planned.
Yeah, we're going weekly.
Yeah.
And some has the generators.
Right.
For.
Yeah.
We give a presentation to this.
That's correct.
In December.
So, yeah, that will all be covered there. We have some issues that, I'm calling emergency issues, which means we actually need to not see daylight and have rain coming into buildings is our first thing. And secondly, some stuff where we have, like our fire alarm panels are way old and they don't talk to the new systems and, there's a few upgrades we have to do, and then there's our planning for moving forward, which is, actually I looked at the Primex valuation of what they had listed for our building values and replacement values, and they're way low. So we need to evaluate all those pieces and then look at how we're gonna start to fund the building program based on with depreciation based type of a system where we can say, okay, 3% of what the building value is what we should be putting away annually. Put it into one building, that way we can actually do some of the major repairs. The biggest example is the meeting house, it's like $190,000 worth of repairs. We've applied for several grants. If we receive the grants, great. If we don't, the work still has to get done. We gotta start thinking about how we're gonna go about that. Realistically.
We're doing an assessment next year maybe, so we can assess all our government buildings.
That's exactly right.
John, you had asked at some point along the way for an assessment of the museum? Or is that my imagination?
I don't recall.
Okay,
Well, the issue with the museum was, John, I think they had saw some rot on the
Yeah.
middle level, and we are doing an assessment of that.
okay.
Yeah, the porch is rotting, so we know we gotta replace some beams.
We just don't know how
But
much.
nothing's reflected in here,
But
but
yeah,
What we did is we put a placeholder, I think, of $10,000 just to hold the place. We don't know.
we didn't see that.
meeting house, but
Yes.
nothing on the. You got museum down below,
Oh, we didn't put anything in the museum?
$1,500 basically.
Oh, we only $1,500. Okay, well, that's one we have to look at.
Other questions on government buildings?
And this would also include painting where necessary.
Painting.
What's
Painting would be on this
EOC?
end of it, but if it's in the capital, then if it's capital programming, which is.
Capital doesn't, yeah. Don't think the capital guys wanna think of painting, it's capital.
It's not. It doesn't qualify.
But
That's what it's part of, you're replacing the siding and painting, then it's.
Just so you know, John, we did adopt a new minimum number at 10,000 instead of 5.
Very good.
Well, the issue we found was because I asked the question right in the beginning, when the auditor came in, he said. Are you still using the $20,000 or 20-year and $20,000 and something for your calculation? I said, no. I said, we are doing the budget with the 5,000, but I said, we should ask the question, what do we actually want to call capital? And the conversation was temporarily, we're using $10,000 and a 5-year life minimum to qualify for capital. And then if that works well in this process, asking to memorialize that, and then the auditor can then match it so that all his financials are working in concert with it.
So you're gonna have a strict capital. Everything in capital reserves will be strict definition. of
It'll be a strict
grouping.
definition, and we have, and for things like, and this is an example, and this will be part of the definition. Groups of things like SCBA's, when they buy them, it's $175,000 purchase. They're not all $10,000 before you get them, but the thing is, we have to buy them. all
Well,
at
that's what
once
I meant
every
by
10 years.
aggregation.
By aggregation.
Computers are the same way, self-contained.
Anything that has a regular replacement like that, yeah,
Okay.
that has that kind of value.
What's EOC?
this place.
Anything else, government buildings? No, moving on to cemeteries.
We actually just did a tour of all the cemeteries. And we're trying to determine how we're gonna look at this going forward. We have our half a person, which is Barry, who's doing cemeteries, and then we have a full-time seasonal that left a couple of weeks ago. But we are not keeping up with the obligation of the town to keep the cemeteries where they need to be. Both from a daily maintenance thing, plus there's some significant cost items that we need to start addressing. I know it was talked about, I think it's the Sawyer Hill, there's one tree that's a $6,000 to $10,000 tree to take down. There's not enough money in the fund for that, but it needs to come down. I mean, it's not an option, and how do we want to go about it? This is more like, you know, are we gonna start budgeting for these significant repairs and upgrades? Because, you know, the South Road Cemetery has a bunch of, it's all sand and it's not really stable, and there's a lot of stones over and down, and there's been a lot of issues, although we did have somebody just start volunteering to help start putting them back together, and they've been working on some of these. But it is the town's ultimate responsibility, and how do we want to start looking at that? Are we gonna add in this section for cemeteries to say we need a annual maintenance line item that's not just the people, we might have to bring somebody in with some equipment or to do some work, and are we gonna start putting some money towards that? That would be good for all cemeteries. Cindy, as a trustee, has made a request for a legal opinion. The state had mentioned that they need a legal opinion to see if we're gonna be able to cross-share any of the money. We're trying to get that finalized as well. But I guess the
Cross
state.
share any of the money with the separate
Yeah, 'cause you
cemetery?
got, there's one cemetery that has like $100,000 that you could use, but you can't use it at the other cemeteries. The state's kind of going around in circles, and they really won't answer it straight. They just said, go get a legal opinion.
Have they passed any law changes?
They haven't, Sean, Tangy, who's our attorney, has said he's been working with the state on some of this, so he's very familiar with it. So Cindy sent him the documents that they have and what's going on, and he's gonna give a legal opinion of that.
Well, the last effort, it's the Emmeline Davis Trust, it's got all the money. And the last effort that trust is supposed to be for water.
Right.
So it's a huge amount of money.
Only in Wells Cemetery though.
Right.
Yeah.
The last effort was a cypre action in court, in probate, to get it so it could use it for water up at the northern cemetery on King Street. And that was approved, but it took 5 years.
Right.
So is there a process other than a cypre action?
That's where I know that the way Sean described it to me, the state has been considering this issue exists a lot of places, and they're trying to figure out a way within the statutes to make this work, so. Right now, we're just gonna get a list for him that says, this is
Okay.
what you can do, this is what you can't do, and if you wanted to do something, you gotta do this.
I'd be really surprised that the state does a lot of things that it makes up out of its head. But if you've got established law about trusts. And there's also, there's a long section of law about trust. And the cypre action is a pain in the ass for everybody.
Right.
But I don't know that they can just willy-nilly abandon that concept.
Well, you
I
gotta,
don't-
you
I
gotta
don't
get
think they
the,
can, I think the question starts to become like, okay, it's a municipal cemetery, can you now merge some of them? I don't know, I don't know.
you gotta get the Attorney General on board with a cypre action.
Right.
So you gotta get them to go for it, and there's gotta be certain conditions that impossibility, so you can't just because, hey, we've got money over here, we don't wanna use it for that.
Right.
Usually that's not good enough. You have
Yeah,
to do
right,
that.
but I don't think they can just arbitrarily as a state entity. Without going through court or legislature.
Make rules?
Yeah,
Oh, they do it all the time.
yeah, well, not legally, you know, I mean.
You gotta challenge it.
Yeah.
I was dealing with this with, some administrative rule of the court today.
No, that's absolutely correct.
Simple solution, I think.
It seems to be a New Hampshire tradition.
Oh, it's not just New Hampshire.
Well. We have.
Yeah.
Time to move to Vermont.
Oh, 5 years, so in that case, we went to what, a different attorney every 6 months, so we had to get them back up to speed, that was part of the number testing at the time. And then,
You always had the same attorney all through the whole period. We had Sean Tank for the whole,
no, I think we had someone different for that.
maybe the what, and maybe the trustees did. But the town
Maybe
did,
that's what it
the
was.
town used Sean Tank.
But yeah, it was a long time.
But yeah, we have a request in for a legal opinion.
Yeah.
We'll go from there.
Cause presumably it was a gift that had conditions.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the issue.
And the thing is those conditions never use much of that money,
Yeah.
and it just keeps earning.
If you can't get it changed, maybe what you can do is use the money in that account for the water system. And argue that part of the water system structure is gonna be over in the wells.
Well, yeah, we'd have to actually run the line up the road and into the cemetery.
It's a
and
close run.
and it's, yeah, it's just like, it's all part of that run, yeah.
Enough, I'm sorry.
Did you say there was a tree that was gonna cost $7,000? Is it a huge old oak tree or something?
It's enormous.
Yeah,
It is, and there's actually. There's a couple in the cemetery up on Canyon Street, there's we have a significant amount of tree, and it's not stuff we can take down, this is
Yeah.
people that have to.
Humongous, yeah.
Because the branches. Are, the branches are.
or trees.
Yeah,
And the one in Sawyer Hill, it's been a topic of conversation.
for a while, and it is something we need to start addressing, and we gotta we're trying to get some numbers for that.
Is it rotting? And like,
Yes,
okay,
it's got a part of it that's not doing well.
It's gonna fall on somebody.
Well, it's definitely gonna fall and take out a bunch of really old stones,
Hmm,
a lot, and there's some.
Really old
I
stones
think
up
that was
here.
when we saw
People don't care, though.
earliest days. Was at Sawyer Hill, there were some
Yeah, yeah,
way back.
yeah. I used to live
So,
next
yeah,
door. to it.
so we have a few of those issues that we need to address. So that will come back for an update.
okay.
There's a bunch of, well, there's actually a few dollars. Well, that's all, it's on the other thing. Wanted to do.
I would take that one on, but I look it up.
Thank you, other than this spelling is all.
All right, insurance,
Property and liability is not in yet, we
Okay.
haven't gotten quotes, but judging by how it's gone up the last 3 years, I just put $100,000 in there, it'll probably be some more.
And
Does that have the enhanced values? Have you already given them new values?
I've got to do that now. I just got access like a couple of weeks ago. And the other thing is, the meeting house isn't even listed.
Has been. I don't know when it disappeared, but
I'm saying it's not
It
on the
was-
list right
it
now.
was on, his starting was in there for like 600,000.
And that's, and I would have probably said it's probably like 900 now, but.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's not on the list today, which was kind of surprising when I
Yeah,
finally got the
surprised me.
list. Yeah. Actually, here's the list.
It was there at 21.
Cause I got oh, this building, museum, garage, senior center, town offices, library, water treatment plant, wastewater plant, and attendance at the transfer station building, and that's it.
You got more than that. The museum is on it. Did you say?
The museum's on here.
Okay.
No, that was the only one I couldn't find.
Got the bathhouse on it?
No, the bathhouse isn't on there.
But there were a lot of small buildings that were on there too.
Yeah, so I don't know where it went, but I'm trying to get that cleaned up, and we gotta get the evaluations fixed and all that, so.
Well, do you have the old files?
Yeah, somewhere I gotta get
If you look at the old file, it's got the stuff from
Okay,
the associated, whoever it's private.
Primax, yeah.
Go look at it and see, because there's full lists, and you at least compare them with what you got now.
Right, okay.
And there's a garage at the North Cemetery. That's a.
Oh, that's in the second, yeah.
Right,
In the old church.
right. There's a new little building there.
I don't see, yeah. I don't see
Yeah.
any of those.
Karen?
Like this
Or
stuff.
move on from insurance, I just wanted to make a note that with the warrant article passing the contingency fund,
Hmm,
that would be next after property and liability, because it's numbered 4198 with the state.
yeah, because we don't have that on our list, so we can talk about it right now, is that?
Yeah, I just didn't want to like
Yeah.
forget about.
Yeah, no, I was kind of looking on my contingency, and that's right, we just passed that last year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's numbered 4198, that's a code from the state. We put $50,000 in there, based on how much building repair that has been being up in 2024. We figured 50,000 would be a good starting off point. But not earmarked for anything, or else we would have budgeted it in the proper department.
Somebody remind me, was this a warrant article that we passed that allowed us to establish a fund for contingencies?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh, any contingency or this is building repair
It's any unforeseen,
expense to the
yeah,
town?
just
Right, okay, yeah, okay,
I'm sorry. Karen.
no, general contingency, right, okay.
select board is the agents to expend, or is it the voters?
the select board, because it falls under the operating budget. So
Okay.
it becomes the line item in the 2025 budget, and then it just is spent.
So we don't need to fund it every year or, well, not outside of the budget with the warrant article.
And at the end of the year, if it's not spent, it just rolls up into fund balance.
Okay.
It's another one of those state rules, which is.
Those made up state rules?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when we did budget before, we couldn't have contingency funds.
Specifically
Oh,
directed,
not,
could not do it by DRA, and they pointed to a statute, and said we couldn't do it. This has been changed.
the statute or just the, oh,
The
well, I
opinion.
know, that's what I'm.
A lot of people are asking us about this. They must want it.
Still the DRA, and they can comment if they want.
Well, as far as I know, this came up last year, and last year I checked on it, and yep, they're saying you can do contingencies, but they told us for 10 years we couldn't.
I remember that very clearly, yeah.
People,
We called it something else.
few people don't want to get it.
Yeah.
Any other questions before we move on to general government? All right, we're going to general government.
This one, the phone and internet, I tried to go through 2024 and break out all the charges into the departments. So you'll see in the department budgets, some of the police mainly are going over budget, because all of a sudden we started charging all of their phone charges to them. So this one, I have a little bit more work to do on it. As of Friday, a couple of days ago, we canceled all the old internet with Comcast. And now we're solely on the fiber internet, and the Comcast used to come out of this line. So once everything like settles, I'll be able to see what our bills end up at, because we still have a couple services we pay Comcast for. So I'll update that, and then the postage, we were trying to get a handle on what the postage increase is gonna do to our lines. And that's another thing, I just put $10,000 in there as a placeholder until we get the second tax bill out and can really understand how many persons we send in here.
Can't you just extrapolate from the 2024 actual?
We don't know how to use our postage machine that well yet. The information. We're just figuring out how to like allocate it and figure out how many things we send. Right now, we're just getting an invoice once a quarter for the postage.
When the actual here in 2 quarters, right?
Yeah, and when we get closer to the end of the year, I think we can probably cut the office supply line. We had 10,000 budgeted in 2024. We're not spending anywhere close to it. When I talked to Rebel today, she said she didn't really know of anything else she had to order out of the ordinary. I think just our regular paper usage has gone down. So we could probably cut office supplies at some point.
Well, Mike, he was a college youth for that.
Yes, it was. Hey, there's color they give us. Every
Every page is got.
Okay.
Other questions or comments on general government? And now we're gonna skip all the way down to page 17. It sure does. Number 4413, Health Administration.
Bridges and streetlights would be.
Your chart of people, I'm not looking in front of, this is an open position. Flow chart of people,
Health officer,
I think
yeah,
so.
that's open right now.
Pardon?
That's open right now, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, so this is just a placeholder. Also.
Are you interested, Mike?
Nope.
Answer.
We did significantly increase the salary. It had been budgeted at 2,500, which wasn't very many hours every month. So we put 12,000 in there, thinking get someone in regularly and that there was more
Responsibilities.
I mean, the reality
What's that
is,
person do?
what I've been told between the number of failed septic systems that the state is unable to get involved with now because they don't have staffing. My understanding is we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 properties that qualify as junkyards that need to be cleaned up. There's actually quite a bit of paperwork and process that has to go and do this, and the question is, this is a function the town has to have, should have, and everything else. What's gonna get somebody into this position, and that's really what we have to figure out.
Yeah.
You also have it for all daycare centers and all of people that have been appointed as guardians, that
Right.
type of thing.
Right, yeah, it's, and the thing, and where I kind of wanted to go, the select board hasn't jumped all on board yet, but Enfield does it, where they have the building inspector and the health officer as one position, but it is a full-time position, so it is an increase, but something to be looked at, you know, the building inspector is also a difficult position as a 20-hour a week job to get filled. Because it's actually surprisingly very busy in that department, and there's a lot of, if we we're gonna do it correctly, there's quite a bit of work to be done, so it's. You know, nobody wants to spend the money, but it's like, these are processes, we have to figure out how we're gonna get them going in town.
And I added in the $2,000 for the veterinary services because 2024, we did pay the Upper Valley Humane Society the fee for the police to take the dogs there. So I added that into the operating budget because we didn't have it in 2024.
And with the number of dogs we've taken to do it on a per dog basis is far more expensive. So this will be a much better situation.
Put the dogs off the beach.
So if somebody loses their dog and calls the police are like, well, we picked up dogs, you might wanna call the Humane Society, is that how that chain would work?
There's that,
Yeah.
and there's also the problem where the neighbor calls their dogs being aggressive or there's some issue and the police have to go
Wow,
get them.
The flat fee was created about 6 years ago, and I didn't realize it had dropped. But it's a lot cheaper than doing it on a per dog basis.
Would the police get involved if somebody noticed that dog being mistreated, animals being mistreated? How would that work? Let's say I'm driving along and I see a farm with starving.
Somebody
horses
probably
or
would call the
chewing up
police and then they would call the Humane Society.
dogs. Yeah, I want to-
The Humane Society would be the one to actually address the issue.
Although several of the officers can give you all sorts of stories about dogs and cruisers.
what's this health agencies and hospitals line, what is that?
Is that the when the state comes up water?
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, but I don't know, because we have 96 actions, so that, you know. And I don't know what that line item, what was spent in it.
And when the state charges us to test the beach water, and then we have to close the beach down, we get charged a fee for that.
Yeah, because John, when he does the water tests, if we get a hit, then we gotta do an extra test, and that's when I think we get the fee. And we have had that happen twice this year, when we had some hits.
All right, moving on to page 18, at the top, Parks and Recreation.
This is one that we've been talking about a little bit because we don't have anybody managing, you know, even though it's not a lot, and there was a budget item. Like, I think it was like 2018 or 19. I'm sure that all kind of fell apart during COVID, where we weren't able to do a lot of that, but there is a need for somebody looking after the fields, making sure we're talking to the right groups, that we're coordinating with some of the joint efforts with the Mascoma Valley Youth Center. There is some work, and my thought is we need to, you know, even if we just go back to what we had 2018 or 19, we probably should be having some sort of a process. We have a person right now who's volunteering, who's trying to get some of the programs going again. And we're just paying a little stipend of what we have in the budget, but I think we need a person like that to be a regular and looking at the whole process.
My recollection was that this committee put that 10,000 in this department
Yes.
last year, didn't we?
Yeah, and there was I think it was I have a little beat about this.
The guy from Enfield, right?
Right,
it was-
he never showed up.
Yeah.
When you and I tried to get him to come
Yeah.
to the meetings, he never showed up. He wanted $6,500
Yeah.
of our money.
That's right.
$65,000.
Sure exactly what we're getting. There were things that we wanted.
Yeah.
I have, you
We've
wanna,
had that conversation.
did you wanna jump in?
Yes, what we did is they,
Yeah,
I
but-
met with Ed from Enfield, we had the conversation, he brought in, showed me what the presentation was, what the percentages were, and said, look, you know. Our share of the cost, I think the cost is somewhere in the $30,000 range for that program to run. And for the number of people using it, he said the $6,500 represented our share. And I brought that to the select board, because I think we had $12,000 in the budget, says 10.
No, 10.
And so I brought it back to the select board and said, look, this represents that share. They were gonna have to increase the fees for youth using the facility to compensate for that $6,500 over the course of the year. So I recommended that we make the experiment and do the $6,500 this year. I knew it was a topic of conversation. I didn't know the result of where it went in this committee. And we did move forward with that. And then we're gonna look to get to, a report for where we are right now and see what benefit there is and how that works.
So is that reflected in the actual right there? That's
Well, the
730,
6,500 is part of the 7,000.
the 733, the 6,500 is part of that, okay.
Just to clarify, it's not a facility, but it is our sports programs for kids before they're at the school level.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so they have, I don't know, various sports and.
Yeah, they do basketball, soccer and baseball.
And there's something else, there was two in the fall. It was a field hockey.
Maybe they do a field hockey.
I think there was a field
I
hockey.
had a meeting with.
There was two in the fall and then basketball and baseball.
Yeah, I had a meeting with Jamie Ivy, who's the president of Mascoma Youth Sports League.
Oh.
Right, and he tells me, because I'm interested in the baseball, to the side, I'm working with the school district there to build a baseball program that runs K through 12.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm just working on that, so I was chasing down the baseball program, but didn't want to find out what's going on there. You know, he's a good guy, he's trying to figure it out, he has yet to work out the details with the town. The town, as I understand it, is going to be doing administrative work for the money that we were giving them. In other words, the problem they were having at the sports league was that there was too much work to do and not enough volunteers to do it. And that was the presentation that he gave to the select board committee, right? Select committee was, hey, you know, we need to do this, so we're gonna pony up some money and use our rec director as the funnel for doing all this work, administrative work, and that has not yet been ironed out.
Mhm.
And they're still in the process of trying to figure that out. I'm weaseling my way in there. I'm gonna go to their board meeting. I'm gonna sit down when they have a meeting with the Enfield people to figure out what's going on. You know, 'cause I'm trying to, I have my interest, which is youth sports are good. Mine obviously is more baseball. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I'll work on the other stuff as well. So it's, all I'm saying is right now we're funding, in my mind, we're funding their, rec director. And we're not getting much out of it yet. I don't know all the details. There are 6 or 7 people on the board. There's only one of them from Canaan on the sports league board, so we don't have any control over, you know, what's going on anywhere. So there's a lot of stuff to be worked out there. Ultimately, I think we do need to be supportive of the program, you know, for the kids. And how that all works out, I think is yet to be determined.
But it also was a function of cost last year. The total cost was like $95,000.
I don't remember what the number.
I got all the paperwork from
Yeah.
last year, so part of my concern was value.
Yeah.
Because yes, there's team sports and yes,
Yeah.
sports league, the youth league is very critical.
Mhm.
And yes, it's been dysfunctional on and off many years.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see what that actually looks like
Yeah, me
before we're
too.
done with the process.
Yeah.
The other question is, do we still have an after-school program or not?
Yeah,
Is it still making money?
it's still self-funded, making money.
Okay, so the original theory, and it was, I raised it during the discussion last year, was for years, part of that money, that net money went to support a director, so that you could have a director that is more than $10,000 with more time associated with it, half of the funding coming out of fees, like the net revenues on the after-school program, the other part coming out of this appropriation, and that politically, it was a huge issue here 15 years ago when there was a full-time. 20 years ago, whatever time, whenever it was. So it was a full-time recreation director that was also receiving health insurance and everything else, and it was a huge item. It was very politically unpopular, so there was a need for recreation, there's a need for coordination of recreation. One of the models that was used was to try to raise some of the money from fees to be able to support the program to do that. I would have I would have difficulty if in fact we were putting 20,000 into a part-time position that was doing all sorts of recreation activities. And then we put in a lot more than that into the Enfield program.
Mhm.
And there was a problem with Enfield. I'm sure it's not currently a problem, in Enfield, but there was a problem. Enfield did not have a non-lapsing account. So all the fees that were being raised on those coordinated regional programs were disappearing to support the general fund, and it was a lot of money. It was.
Yeah, they're gonna be collecting all the fees directly.
No, I understand.
you know.
Well,
So
it's
that's,
supposed to be.
that's why I wanted to see
and
where,
my-
how we gonna track that?
Because the Mascoma Valley Youth League is
Yeah.
supposed to have their own account, as I understand it now, so that should not be the case. So that's what we have to verify.
Well, that's just what I'm thinking it's.
I mean, if
If they
they,
wanna help me, you know.
if they have a fund that this is all going into and it's gonna always stay there and do that, then that's.
Yeah, but the way it's working now and the way that Jamie told me, he's the person running it is. Right now, he's still collecting the fees, writing the check and sending it to Enfield every month.
Okay.
Okay, so, and there's no official, nobody knows how it's being accounted for, where it's being accounted, whether it's in a lapsing fund or not lapsing fund. So there's answers that we need to have answers about some of these things. And I'm just gonna be like a bulldog on it because.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's just what's going on.
It's a little tough when we have a somewhat diminished tax base compared to Enfield.
Well, if I would have said to you, okay, so
Fees go
instead
in.
of having Enfield do the accounting on this, let's have them pay us $8,500 a year. And we will do the accounting because
We
it's only,
did do that.
it's only a
one
couple
year.
hundred transactions a year. You know what I mean?
My question is why it's not just saying. in
In
a
the youth
separate
league?
fund, in the youth league. It just should be staying there and then each town should be involved. There should be like a committee of a select board member or a budget committee member on that you talk about how we gonna disperse.
So like I
There
said,
isn't a problem with that, but the recreation historically defined by a whole bunch of focus groups was more than just youth
Right.
sports leagues.
Oh, yeah, it is.
So,
Well, I just looked at it as, if $6,500 is the ultimate cost, it's not a huge number and we can actually have both worlds. But we have to verify where it's
It
going.
was a cost per kid that was enrolled for Canaan, then it was supposed to fluctuate
Right.
each year.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
well, we'll find it, we'll get the
We'll get
information.
all the information,
We'll
I'll get back to this.
I'll get to the bottom.
And I'll come to a meeting.
Yes.
Present.
Excuse me?
And I'm sure Ed will come to a meeting and present,
Okay, well, that's fine,
So we will.
and he can answer all the questions.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
Because
We'll make that happen.
when Nate and I tried to get him last year, he wouldn't come. He couldn't come.
Yeah.
we had a funeral to go. Knock it off.
Huh?
He said we had a funeral to go.
Yeah, whatever.
Lousy excuse.
Ed's a great guy.
I'm not saying he's a bad person,
We'll
Just saying-
we will work all this out. We'll move on and we'll
we'll
work out.
figure it out. So that's gonna be a fluctuating in number. We'll have to figure out what goes on there.
One last thing I wanted to point out about recreation, we haven't budgeted for daily restroom cleaning, but the restroom turned into a huge fiasco this year. So we have,
There was calls every.
What, up to the beach?
No, the fields.
Oh.
The issue became. We weren't using the large rolls and everything else, so they were loading with toilet paper on Friday, or Sunday, it's all gone, people are taking them home, it's like, it was just this, it just became the biggest fiasco. Of all the things that could drive you nuts, it was toilet paper and stuff in the bathroom that was. An event that we were getting calls
There's
for.
nothing there.
People are animals.
So we actually finally got a quote for putting in a new setup that we can have the material and we can try to make them so that there's no benefit.
Tell me it's not
But
better.
we still have-
Howard.
Yeah, no. And the issue is we also need to make sure we have a cleaning covered, that it's getting cleaned regularly, because we have part volunteer doing it, part others, and it just has been a
So
mess.
2 or 3 years ago, there was an actual people that
Right.
were assigned, hired to go clean it every day, so that doesn't exist anymore.
It has not, and we are trying to get that to happen.
See, at the beach, they just go in the woods.
Or in the water.
Yeah, right, or in my backyard, right?
Raised
Bacteria.
bacteria.
I didn't even know we had a bathroom there. Is it free? Is it open all the time?
At where at the lake?
Yeah, is that?
There's a bathroom at the lake, yeah, I'm just saying, there's an awful lot of people use the woods.
And the rest of the people be in the trees.
Make it a paid bathroom. Then only people that are really gonna use it, use it.
Well, paid parking across from the. Wasn't too far.
Then we can have a bathroom. I mean, this is crazy. People are gonna treat it that way.
Well, it was locked periodically. There were notices put up to keep, and they were pretty vicious with it. And they actually, the selectmen at that time locked the place up for 2 weeks and said, you're done.
What about closing the bathroom and getting a couple of porta johns?
Well,
They clean them every week.
we are also,
Yeah.
That's what we do. in Coos
There's
Pond.
running water in that bathroom. There's like sinks, the whole 9 yards.
Right.
Water. At King Street Lake.
No, I understand, but I'm saying if it's being mistreated.
Well, it was the ball people that's getting this treatment. Not the lake.
Getting out the lake, no, I was extraneous commentary.
and, yeah, and part of the issue, and we've got
Right.
Wi-Fi now at the meeting house, because we're gonna get a fire alarm system there, because we don't have one that's working right now, so we have to make sure that all these things happen, but part of that is, with things like that, does it end up eventually with an electronic lock that locks at certain times, and we don't have people sleeping in it, I don't. Because it was the police going and shutting them every day for a while, but they haven't been able to do that. Next.
on this line, so-
People, want in this, yeah.
That one turned into.
Took, that took 4 times as long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a $500.
The other cultural recreation, is that old today, is that what that is?
Something.
Yeah.
In 2024, we doubled it
Okay.
and cut the check, so I kept the same for 2020.
And, I don't think what's this conservation administration? It's a line item in here with a dollar, but what, do anybody know what that is?
Yeah, it's. It's a placeholder, so if the Conservation Commission wants to do. An expenditure for anything, you can move it from another account, and run it through,
Gotcha.
so you gotta have a dollar for it. And the Conservation Commission ebbs and flows in terms of how active it is at the expenditures. And I have no idea where it is these days, but you know, you could have a whole lot of activity. Go out and explore and buy more properties.
Patriotic? Somebody remind me what that is.
Well, patriotic, as far as I would understand it, would be, are we gonna do fireworks? and things
Well,
like
that's
that?
not what it historically.
I'm
was.
just saying, but like, well, it actually brought to my mind, because a lot of people were asking the question, we used to have fireworks, we don't have them, I understand that. That Cardigan Mountain used to put them on and things like that, and different places, and, you know, is that something that? What is, we had a lot of requests for, you know, we'd like to see fireworks back in town.
Can't imagine $500 you're gonna do it, though.
Well, typically, when we just switched, because in. Where I was. When I first started there, I said, what are those refrigerators with locks on them? They said, that's where we store the fireworks. I'm like. You know, you can't do that kind of thing. So we went from buying the fireworks for a couple $1,000s a year to we had to hire somebody because of the way it works. And then it went to 5,000 to 7,500. Well, the regular display is now 12 grand.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not,
We
Right,
had
cheap.
North Star.
yeah,
Oh,
North Star was what we used, you know.
And they went from 5,000 to 10,000. The display at 5,000 is pretty good, and Cardigan paid for it. And, Cardigan was having its own issues at the time, and I went to them and asked them what they wanted to do. And they decided that it was not a sufficient. Need for them to put in this for 5,000 to do it, so. We didn't have it because of that. And you're right, there's a lot of demand for it, most of it revolves around. If Grafton can have fireworks, why the hell can't Canaan have fireworks?
Because
it's
we're
really
nice
just
to
about-
dogs in Canaan.
Is there a will to put it in the budget, or is it, we get a quote and put it in his warrant article, you wanna pay $14,000 for fireworks? I mean, it's kind of a silly thing to do, but it's like. You know, that's a question, you know, like, cause. It seems like there's enough demand that it should be considered, and it's how to go about
The
it.
patriotic stuff is for like Memorial Day and
Right,
Veterans Day.
right.
And it's flowers and it's all the other stuff that
And
goes.
the flags and all
Yeah.
the different gravestones. But yeah, I just didn't know what you wanna do, because that would be under recreation, I assume then.
But
I vote against that.
Move on to debt service.
The debt service interest, I just put a placeholder of $5,000 in there. I don't know if we'll need it, because I heard talks of like bonds for roads and stuff. So I just didn't want to forget about it, but the interest on tax anticipation note. We spent $4,700 in interest paying off the 2024 tax anticipation note, and we'll probably have to draw on it again December 1st. So I think $10,000. If we continue to use it in 2025, probably gonna be around there.
how long was the actual need for the first round?
4 weeks.
I thought we had it out for 6 weeks. 5 or 6 weeks.
What is a tax anticipation note?
When you know your tax collection, like when we get our money all in by the beginning of July, in order to pay all of our bills, when we had to pay the school for June 1st, we didn't have the money in it.
Okay.
So we borrowed it for 1 month.
So kind of like a line of credit almost?
Yeah, it's actually used like a line of credit because you get it once a year. We can use it. You're allowed up to 6 draws. So if we need it again on December 1st, we just have to say fund it,
Okay.
and we do it again.
Where does that come from, a bank or from the government?
Mascoma.
Mascoma, okay,
And it works the best typically when you have it with the company you bank with, because it's an in and out. It's a really simple process, and all the rates were about the same, so.
Okay.
And just for a frame of reference, in the past, schools had an agreement for 15, 20 years to float that one payment in June and float the one payment in November. Where they just said, okay, you can pay it a month late, so that's not happening anymore.
Well, it's not, and what our hope is that we get our fund balance up to the point where we don't have to.
I hope is that you don't
Borrowing,
have a fund balance that's so gigantic that it's not gonna break everybody. But let's see.
Oh, no, the fund, we just want to get to a basic fund balance. I mean, when you look at,
I'd rather have you pay the 4,500 than
I know
pay
you
an
would.
extra 300 or 400,000.
but the issue is, well, and it's not about raising it over a year, but the issue is. You know. When Gatsby puts out their recommendations, the government accounting system. They recommend 2 months. You should have 2 months of money in the reserve. And that's what the 17% is, and in this case, that would be close to $2 million. So it's just a matter of. We try not to use fund balance and let it grow just a little bit at a time, and we get healthier every year. That's the goal.
All right. Capital outlay,
I think it's.
What's that? It's all a warning.
warrant articles.
That's one article.
For paving,
They're all over the place. They're
Mm.
being finalized.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that those are probably a little premature just because we don't have CIP completed with their run and stuff like that, so
Mhm.
we can put that on later.
Okay, which towards probably one of the last
The
things
last
we look
meetings,
at.
yeah, 'cause I
Okay,
think. We got a good 2, maybe 3 meetings before we start honing in on the CIP.
Mhm.
I was just trying to update them to see like what the level they're at, trying to get some kind of an estimate.
All right.
And yeah, and we've updated the CIP program and it calculates out what your appropriation should be, so that you can track.
Yep.
What we're doing, so hopefully we'll be able to do a little presentation of that as well.
Well, and this is, they're not matching what we have from previous years exactly. I'm trying to make notes, so like next year we can follow along with this one new format, but are there any other, now that you're all here, are there any other groups like this that wouldn't be on our list for our agendas that we talk about tonight that you could think of that are in this that, we don't see right now?
No, the contingency plan was the only one because the other warrant articles got added into the highway budget.
All right.
The only thing that, just for discussion, and is looking at. Creating a roads reserve fund so that we can put in a level amount of money. And start to save some money, like this year we spent 300,000, next year it might be 500, but we only have to put 400 a year in or whatever it is. And also, one other. Thing that I'm gonna recommend is on the equipment reserve fund. The way it's written right now is it's voter in, voter out. And the problem is, once the voters vote for that amount of money, we don't have any flexibility, and the prices change when you go to order. A little bit, and it probably should just be switched to language to let voters put it in and the select board. Expend it because it's too variable.
Good luck.
Well, we just got it.
That was a huge issue.
Well,
Over 4 years.
and I understand that, and I know why they do it, but the problem is when it's hard to do bid processes with fixed amounts of money. Cause my other question was. Can we put in not to exceed and put a 20% cushion, and they said no.
Well, so the issue is you end up inflating guessing what your inflated
Yeah.
amount's gonna be, so you have the authorization, and then people are like, well, yeah, you said it was gonna be this
Well,
much. and it
the
only
goal
was
is
this
if we
much."
can get to the level funding of equipment.
Did you
Okay.
say what you just said though? About the not to exceed, what?
What I was asking, because I asked the attorney, our bond counsel, just it was a quick question. if we said we got an estimate for $280,000 for a truck or whatever the number is. And I would say, well, we need about a 10% contingency. We want to add 28 grand to that. So we're gonna say not to exceed 308. Okay, and I was told,
Why did he say no?
I don't know. I didn't
So let me ask
understand
you a
that.
question, ask him another question. It's done, don't want to be arguing. I just want to ask him a question. Okay, so if we say the one article, will the voters vote to authorize it, appropriate and expend $300,000 for a truck?
Right.
And then we buy the truck for $263,000.
Right.
Do we have to spend the other $37,000?
No, I know we don't have to do that.
So
So what we're
functionally-
doing is saying, we're just gonna put the 10% in and not put it in the language.
Well, you would explain it to the voters because the voters really get hot if they don't know what's going on.
Right.
So what you would say is, we are not sure what this is gonna cost. We're gonna try, this is what our goal is, to get it between this and this. We put it at the full amount and, you know, watch our
Well,
minutes. and-
And I'm okay with that. I also would, because one of the other things that, because of FEMA, we're gonna have to update our procurement policies. And it's like, you know, if it gets to a certain level, you have to put it out for publication and bid. So it becomes kind of self-correcting. So these are the questions, and these are just things that are in my thought process and how to go about that. Because we were kind of really hemmed in with these equipment purchases with this, and thankfully, one of the prices came in a little lower, so we were lucky that way. But it was just a food for thought question.
I mean, we're getting up to date quotes on anything that's, you know, coming up. So, it's not gonna be that far away one way or the other, I don't believe.
No, the issue is if we're $15,000 short, where are you getting the money? It's coming into general fund.
Do you recall the deliberative session where we had a bulldozer that turned into a mini excavator?
Yeah. 2 years ago, I think that was.
Ouch.
Hey, I tell you, the highway guys love their video.
The point I'm trying to make is that there is a lot of people that think that they know everything about roads and that they know everything about equipment, including me. So the problem is that historically, way before I ever came to town of Canaan, there was a hot button issue that people wanted to know if they're gonna put money into reserves. They wanna have control over it going out of the reserves, so some type of dialogue in both of it. That's what the issue.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, because some of the reserve funds say select board expending, and some say
Oh,
voter
They
expending.
gave up on bridges, so they let you do whatever you
They
want
let
on
you do
bridges.
And the bridges are the most expensive like any.
Absolutely,
Figure it out.
but the rest of the stuff was
They don't
very.
know anything about bridges.
No,
Don't know anything about bridges.
Most of the excavating guys don't do bridges.
Yeah. Okay, that's all we have.
All right, well, that's all I got on the agenda for the evening. Does anybody have any new business they want to bring before the group?
We got one typo.
That was 425.
The government buildings instead of BG with like GB.
Just what we covered. Yeah.
Mike, look on page 19.
Just using that napkin and not a calculator.
No,
Came up with
Petition for the VNA,
$425,000.
petition for West Central, petition for Bridge House, petition for Advanced Transit, petition for Grafton County, petition Wise, petition MV Health, who's MV Health, petition TriCAD, petition for Public Health
I just
Council.
added up and-
Where's the petition for the Mascoma Community Health Center?
Just to go cover that.
Doesn't have any numbers in it, but why isn't it there? Should I ask her?
I'll second it.
I have a question. It's just not something we looked at, but on page 19, you've got all these petitions for the social service agencies, and none of them have any money in them, I think, but the Mascoma Community Health Center, I don't see that on the list. And we've had the money in the past. It may get voted down, and I don't want it, but how come it's not here?
Be on there because we did it.
But this is for next year.
Yeah, but it has to put last year's stuff in there. It's gotta be in there
It's a
somewhere.
little further up, Karen, there's a.
Oh, petition, oh, there, okay. That's, okay, I don't know why, I don't know why
Once
it's not in the
you
same
once
place.
you Spend money and
Uh-huh.
it will show for like 3 years.
Okay, I know, yeah, oh, I just didn't know, I don't quite understand the logic of the list, but that's okay, doesn't matter. I just don't want to be out of there, no matter where it goes. Up and out, capital outlay, land and improvements. However, petition for the how that's a land and improvement, I'm not sure,
Write it out like
right?
that.
I don't understand why it shows up in your,
Yeah, that's part of why our chart of accounts was messy and I've slowly been cleaning it up, so this restart working. So when it gets grouped separate, it's because this second segment has a different number. It's summing everything by the second segment of the account.
So you gotta get the 4901 to turn it to a 4902.
Right.
Carrie Ann, at the bottom of page 19, it says MD Health. That organization changed its name from maybe 10 years ago. I don't know.
what is it? Yeah, that one,
Mascoma Valley, it used to be the Public Health Council.
It is the public health.
Yeah, but it's not.
Dover Valley Health Initiative.
Yeah,
oh, but here's the Public Health Council.
Yes.
Oh, so it's appearing twice, is that what you're saying?
No, Public
No.
Health Council is what the region has, but that's what it's for. And they run the flu clinic.
Yeah, right, that's Alice Ely, yeah,
And then they changed their name.
to what?
So that's all I was saying.
Public Health Council, Upper Valley, or Upper Valley Public Health Council, they put key health place.
Yeah, it probably should have.
But there is no MD Health. in it.
No.
Right, so that should,
I was on the board when it happened. I was on board. Yeah.
so the MV Health is in fact the same as now called Public Health Council of the Upper Valley, which appears on the following page, Public Health Council.
So,
Be eliminated.
Yeah, it should be eliminated, yeah. That's why I was confused, yeah.
It hasn't.
Yeah, that should be.
so we have an unused 4902 number, so we can move the.
That's right.
River Valley in.
Perfect.
That's going to help.
49, what do you mean 4902?
Well, that's going on, community health is up in the 4901 series.
Oh,
So
904,
we don't
not,
have a vacancy at 26.
I see, yeah, we do. Oh, right.
So I've a chunk of time renumbering stuff, so I can get the summary report to run.
Okay, right, well. sorry. So that's up.
Are you changing the name to dental? That's
No.
No.
it's a
just a
corporate-
sign on the street.
It's a sign of the street. The corporate name is Mascoma Valley, Mascoma Community Healthcare.
Okay.
Inc. So that's what it is.
MC, Mascoma,
Any other
no, Mascoma.
questions or comments? Shall we,
Already had the motion.
oh, we have a
Yeah,
motion on the
Yes,
floor in a
thank you. Right,
second.
right,
All those in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.